bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together. It's so beautiful, you and me.
Zainab had a quick real side experience this morning where I was being, she said I was laying in a bed and there was a witch standing over me trying to do a spell, and Zainab like kicked the crap out of this chick. So she was standing over top of me and trying to cast a spell, and Zainab came in the room and kept interrupting her and jumped on her back and all sorts of stuff, and then finally pushed me through a wall. She pushed me and then came through the wall with me, and then we were on the other side. This is the same thing she did when she was in Saudi Arabia. She had an experience where there was a guy trying to kill me with an axe, and she pushed both of us through the wall and escaped.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, this girl really looks out for me.
That's good. That's very good, Chris. Yeah. Yeah, this is where we're at. Ava was saying that Kelsey sent her a video on the Alaska chemtrails and trees and whatever. Yeah, and it's all over the world. Millions of trees are dying. I saw this when I went up to Big Bear in 2003. All the trees had beetles in them because of when they do the chemtrails here. It goes to the mountains first. The mountains usually get it first, and the soil is just all depleted and ruined. And so the immune systems of the trees are destroyed, and then the beetles come and devour them. And shortly after that, there was a big fire up there, which there always is somewhere. So again, it's the oxygen of the planet. Everything circulates too. Plus, in Alaska, you have Fukushima, which the tides, the circulation goes north, up, and over to Alaska, and then on down beside Canada, and then the United States. That it comes down. That's the flow there. So when you have rain and stuff, you have a lot of storms in the winter in the Aleutian Islands up there off Alaska, and so that's drawing moisture from the sea, which is all radiated, and then dumping it on, then it comes down, the storms come down across Alaska and down through Canada and whatever, and it's all just picking up all this stuff and circulating. It's all in the atmosphere everywhere. Yeah, it's not good. And again, I'm amazed we're still here because everything is so saturated. And then you've got everything else going on too. Yeah. The GMO seeds going across the world, pollinating everything, all their poisons, etc. Yeah, it's just poison planet. It's everywhere. Yeah. So the future generation here does not look good. See how long it lasts. So we have so much time to share with people because most people are not going to wake up. They're just in their la-la land, and that's how it is. Go ahead, Hessam. Take your time. Go ahead.
Yeah. One of our friends here, the lady who helps us in the translations from time to time for his relatives, Elham, had this experience, and it was so cool. She just sent us right now. I just read from the Farsi text and I translate at the same time. She says that I was suspended in the darkness, and There were some lights kind of shining from a very far distance, and I was a little bit scared. And then from far away and from the depth of the darkness, some of the real guides I saw, and I was looking for Rebisar, and within my mind, I called him, and as soon as I called him, he just appeared very fast in front of me and told me, and I told him that, you know, I don't like here. I just like a little bit of, you know, calmness and just tranquility. And then all of a sudden we began to fly, and we left that dark and I can say horrible place. Together with Rebisar, we went to a beautiful land. And when we reached there, he told me that this is the real side. And they were, you know, very vast open areas and lands full of greens and grasses and beautiful flowers and violet flowers, especially violet flowers, everywhere. And on those greens and grasses, I began to run, and it was interesting that all those grasses and greens were like very soft, like cotton. And when I was running over them, I enjoyed a lot. And although I was, you know, kicking them, I mean, I was just running on those flowers. But when I looked back from time to time, I saw that they are not destroyed, and they're just the same. And then I had a better feeling because of that. And I had a very long white clothes put on. Then we reached a river. Its water was very, very clear, even clearer than tears, I can say. And I put my feet into the river and I began to swim. There were very beautiful fishes swimming around me, and I was very excited to see them. Rebisar all the time was standing at a corner. He was watching me and kind of sending me this impression that everything is fine. And finally, I came out of the water and I saw a very handsome man. He had long blonde hair, and he was a white man, and a muscle body, and very kind looking. And I looked at Rebisar like having this question that who he is, but he just read my mind and said that this is your real love. In your previous lifetime, you were a woman from, or you were a Rumi woman actually, and he was your husband, and you were in love. Then you had a very bad disease, and you died, and you left him alone together with your two daughters. And from that time, he's just waiting in the real side for you. Then I saw that man began to fly into the sky, and Rebisar told me that he's still waiting for you on the real side. Now, go back and have more discipline in doing your New Year sessions. You don't have so much time. And then I woke up. That's what she shared.
That's terrific, Hassan. Wow. That's a real love story.
Oh yeah, it was reminding me your story with your previous wife in previous lifetimes. What was her name?
Which one?
The one you described in book 2.
Shiz, or that book 1?
Yes, she's
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, that's terrific. That's a good one. Kelsey could make a video out of that. That's terrific. Yes. You are Abdul now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she has very vivid experiences from time to time.
Wonderful. This Farish's friend?
This is her cousin, the one that helps us in translations from time to time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. All right. Yeah, it's a romantic adventure. Wow, that's terrific. Yes.
Let me just start before it's late. Give narrate some experiences from the new friends in Congo given to me by Mariam yesterday. So this new first experience is very interesting. A new friend whose wife was pregnant, who was experiencing some health difficulties, did the new song, and in the dream vision, the kind of doctor came and told him that all will fine with his wife. And so the next day, she gave birth to a bouncing baby boy, who was been named Dwayne. So we should expect more Dwaynes. So they are given a lot of thanks for having had the opportunity to know the new song. And then in the second experience, this new friend was at a class at Mariam's. Then he called Dwayne, who told him that he was in a restaurant eating. So the new friend replied that he could barely afford food, while at his end there in the Congo. So Dwayne told him that whoever reads the new dream courses wouldn't go without food. So the next day, this was a kind of wake-up call for him. And the next day he went and looked for Mariam and paid for his new dream courses. And in the third experience, a new friend who started singing the new song in March. He was a former corporation member. He had lost everything. His state of mind, his business, and everything were completely destroyed. And so, you know, in this kind of situation, people are looking for quick fixes. So he thought that after singing the new, everything will be restored. So he was becoming very apprehensive and agitated as things were taking longer. So he went and contacted a magician and told him about his problems, how he had lost everything and his life was in shambles. Then the magician told him that he was going to have an initiation in which in the dream state in which everything will be restored, and he will have the magical ring. So on the night of the initiation, in the interval while waiting for that capital day, he continued singing the new. And on the night of the initiation, Rebisar appeared in bright, blinding light. and destroyed the power of the ring. And the next day, this new friend went to the magician, and the magician went and saw the magician. The magician was angry. So, but he says he had spoiled his work, and that he had blocked everything by his activity, and asked him why he was coming to him when he had everything he wanted from another source, that he should go and continue what he's doing. And so this new friend, he went comfortably with doing his new songs and reading the books. Then he had some other dream visions with dream experiences with Rebisar, with a lot of revelations and other things which he prefers to keep to himself. So they are so intimate, and he prizes them very much that he can't reveal them. So these are the three experiences Mariam gave me yesterday to translate.
You know, it's like anything we start. So, you know, you just do it a step at a time and see where it goes, and you'll be amazed at what happens. So again, as you activate something, you know, that also comes from the real side. So, you know, we like to determine things with our literal mind, but this again is taking the risk and see where it goes. So as you keep going, then things start to appear, you see. So we've got to continually activate it. And when Ava and I first started the Skypes and she suggested that, I go, okay, fine, let's see what happens. You know, so I just jump in. You know, I just always jump in. It's like, okay, let's see what happens. We get a literal idea of things, but, you know, when you actually, you know, move into that position, things happen. And, you know, people tell me experiences that I don't always understand what they're saying, because if they're in a different language, or just even, you know, English-speaking people, you know, they're giving me their interpretation. So it's always a challenge. That's what it is. And, yeah, so you just move forward with it. Let me say, Charles, and you can tell Miriam this too, and that is that, you know, anything can happen in this world, and it is. And you never want to take it for granted, because the planet's being destroyed very rapidly. That's very real. Every day it's worse. And more poisons, more people dying, more creatures dying, more animals, whatever. That's on a daily basis, moment by moment. So I suggest to take as much time as you can with this, because you know, your 9-to-5 job and all these things are not going to mean nothing in a very short time. And so, you know, there's such a huge agreement to the demise of this planet that people don't see unconsciously. It's huge. And, you know, just like even, you know, the experiences that we've had, and especially with the Iranians, they've been forewarned, etc. There's warnings all the time, and they're not kidding, because this is how bad it is. Yeah, and all of a sudden one day, it's gone. I mean, things are gone. So, yeah, be prepared. But I would say to do as much as you can in the meantime, because, yes, we only have a certain amount of time left. And that's it. You know, you just got to kind of make it up as you go. And so we're lucky that we do have this communication all over the world right now. I look back in Paul's day, you know, this stuff didn't exist. And so we have this today. So this is how we know each other. So whatever it is, yeah, creatively try to do it. And Chris and them are looking at Pal Talk and other things. There's other means. So you just have to keep experimenting. So whatever she wants is fine, because she's wonderful and you guys are wonderful. So whatever it is, let's try and make it work. Yeah. I look at how the mail first started in the United States in the, what was 1800s, the Pony Express. And you had these riders on horses going across the land, and it took days, weeks, and months. And so, you know, how about just, you know, if people have to just write a letter and send her a letter, if it's long distances or whatever it takes, but little by little this adds up, and you have to realize that, you know, in Paul's time, you know, he just had the typewriters, and he had people, you know, one at a time. He taught them, and it became what it did. So, you know, as you start somewhere, it becomes something. So even if people have to write Miriam letters and the experiences, and she reads them or translates them or whatever, you do something, you see. So you don't look at the obstacles you have, you look for, you know, a way to make it happen. And when I first when I was first out in the public in the 70s, you know, I didn't have any of this stuff, and I had to, you know, buy stick-on letters and things like this and make drawings of my flyers, then take them down to a printer, and then physically go pass them out, you know, through the shopping centers or whatever, and set up my lectures and do, you know, press releases. At the time, I knew a gal that was in the organization, and she put them in and other things, and gradually I get into the colleges, etc. So, you know, again, it's like that. It's like the Pony Express. So if people can just write her a letter, something like that, however, and just share their experiences, all these things will add up, and eventually it will take off. One person telling another, it will take off. And look at how quickly she put the group together. So there's millions more out there and all over the world that are waiting for this. So we, you know, we're doing our part with what we have, but just do what you can, and it'll work. The boys are there, but you have to decide it. You can't just think, okay, we can't do this or we can't do that accordingly. So that's not so. You can, you know, you can do whatever. Just be creative, and then, you know, things will happen from the real side. The boys will make the contacts, and things will start to take off, just like in Paul's day. But people have to decide something. You always have to decide something. Yeah. Or it's not like, oh, I don't have time, or I don't know how to do this, or blah, blah, blah. Well, nobody knows how to do anything until they do it. You just start at a certain point. I started at a certain point, and I just started a little by little putting it together, and went out there and did the talks, and then I created my own classes like Miriam has. And so, yeah, so whatever it takes, you know, whatever it takes. So people can, from thousands of miles away, they can mail her letters, or, you know, record it on the phone or something, you know, whatever means they have, you see? Yeah.
As to sending letters to her, that's what the experiences I narrated here were sent to her in that way, and she sent them to me, and I had to write them out in English and then read them here. So if we have the situation where she comes and reads them in French directly, that would require interpretation. It will not be translation again, and that is much more difficult. Where you have the stuff before time, you can work on it and put it together and give a coherent story. So, well, however it will be, well, it will be that way.
Well, I look at the old days of the Bible scholars and whatever. I mean, they had to create their own ink with feather pens, so they got it done, you know. So we do have a lot of advantage here, more so than ever. So, you know, things are available, so it's just, you know, putting it together. I would say that what else is more important? Because if people don't, wake up and recognize what is really taking place with themselves and the whole of life, then they're going to be struggling for more lifetimes because it's easier to fall back. So, yeah, I would say that any means at all is very, very important, and it's like a mother raising a child. You got to be there every moment with the child, and you've got to do all these things. And so, the same with this, you've got to go through all these steps. But if the mother just stands back and said, "Oh, gee, I'm going to be with this child 20 years," that's it sounds like a drag. But no, you got to do it a day at a time. Whatever it is, you do it a step at a time. And then pretty soon, voila, there it is. It's magnified itself. Yeah. So again, it's a challenge. I take on the challenge. Whatever it is, I do it because there is nothing else.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see.